We've just started this procedure in a male patient with obstructive jaundice who presented some time ago with a suspicion of a pancreatic malignancy. The patient was already treated and underwent an ERCP, during which a plastic stent was placed and a distal stricture was observed in the common bile duct. We have now entered the second portion of the duodenum, and as you can see there is a plastic stent. We will shorten the scope, go back in a short position and have a good visualization of the ampulla. And we'll do a kind of a staged procedure where we will first remove the plastic stent. We will re-enter the common bile duct, do a cholangiographic assessment, make a radiograph to again document the distal stricture. We will then perform an introductal ultrasound, and after we have completed this we will decide how to treat this patient and how to deal with the obstruction, the common bile duct obstruction. So we've now captured the plastic stent, which we will now remove. You can see a kind of papillotomy has already been performed. Mag ik even kijken? So we now will slowly remove the stent. Okay. And then we will recannulate the common bile duct, place the wire, and then first do an introductal ultrasound. So we'll now introduce an omni catheter to recannulate the common bile duct. So try to get an accurate position. Do the recannulation. Can I have a look, please? And then we will pass the wire across the stricture. So the guide wire is now passing the stricture. It's going into the liver hilum. I will follow now with the catheter. I will introduce the catheter all the way up to the liver hilum to make a nice cholangiogram. Okay, we'll now split the wire and fix the wire to the locking device. And then we will make a pull-through cholangiogram to accurately document the distal stricture. Can I have a look, please? So we'll now fill the common bile duct with contrast. There's not much dilation, but of course that was because there already was a plastic stent, and you see the distal stricture there. There's some debris above the stent. You see some filling of the cystic duct. We're slowly now withdrawing the catheter. Please give some more contrast. And you see there is a quite long distal stricture of a few centimeters. Stop. Picture, please. And there you see contrast flowing out into the duodenum. And you see this distal stricture really is at the location of the pancreatic head. Again, as I told you, the next step will be to do some more investigation with an introductal ultrasound. So we'll remove the catheter and introduce the EDIS device. So we carefully will introduce now the EDIS catheter into the scope. We have to be very careful not to kink the device. We slowly introduce it. And we will kind of introduce now the catheter under fluoroscopic guidance. There you can see now the catheter slowly going into the common bile duct without any kinking. We will pass the stricture and we will start the investigation well above the stricture also to see the normal common bile duct and the normal common bile duct wall. So this is now we are in the introductory portion of the common bile duct. So where this looks like a mass lesion in the pancreatic head, we slowly withdraw and we will remove the introductory ultrasound catheter. Next what we will do is take some brush cytology. So next we will try to get some cytological confirmation of the presumptive diagnosis of a pancreatic malignancy, which on CT scan at least, shows signs of irresectability, which would then mean that the patient will be suggested for chemotherapy, of course, for which we need a definite diagnosis. So we now introduce the brush cytology device. Again, for introduction into the common bile duct, we will get into a short position, very close to the orifice. We will first introduce it into the upper portion of the common bile duct. The brush is out now, and I'm slowly now withdrawing the device, and I take a good look at the distal marker, which I withdraw up until the level of the ampulla, and now the brush is inside the stricture. We close the brush. Yeah. You see this happening now, and this is something we will repeat a few times in order to get a good sample for cytological evaluation. Open. So now we're done with the diagnostic part. We've done an EUS. We have got the cytology samples, and now we have to deal with the stricture. And because of the presumptive diagnosis of malignancy, because of the fact that it seems irresectable at CT scan, we preferably now would drain the common bile duct with a metal stent in order to have prolonged patency, also at the time during which the patient will get chemotherapy. We will be immunologically compromised, so we need to give him the best available drainage procedure we have. For that reason, we should place a metal stent, and a metal stent that we will introduce as a new evolution, uncovered metal stent. We will take the 6 centimeters, please. Okay, this is the stent that we will place in this patient, the new Cook Evolution stent. This is an uncovered version, 6 centimeters. And it's interesting just to talk you through the new device and its features. As you can see here, this is the stent mounted on the catheter, very nicely visible, an endoscopic marker, which we will also show when we are going to introduce the stent in the patient, in the duodenum. And here you see the zip wire port at 27 centimeters from the distal tip of the stent, where the wire will exit, so a short wire introduction system. And then we go all the way up. This is the handle of the device by which we will deploy the stent. A very nice feature of this new stent is the one-on-one relation between the deployment with this trigger and the deployment of the stent at the distal tip. Very controlled. We can see the movement of the deployment on this device. There is a point of no return, both a radio-opaque marker that we can of course see on fluoroscopy, but also a point of no return indicated on the handle. So at the end of the device we have the safety wire. The safety wire we have to remove at that point in time when we have almost completely deployed the stent. So that is when the stent is at a fluoroscopy marker, when we have reached that, or at this point on the device, so the point of no return. At that point in time we'll remove the safety wire and we can fully deploy the stent. So let's now introduce the stent into the patient over the wire, and we can see then the wire exiting the catheter at the zip port. In fact, there is a small portion on the stent which is transparent, so you can already see the wire just before it will exit the catheter through the zip port, just as a kind of a visual aid to mount the introduction device. Of course, we have to introduce it into the scope in a controlled way with slow movements, not to kink the device, although it's very rigid and nice to handle. Slow movements just to introduce the device into the working channel of the scope. Okay, we're there. And now, important as with many devices that we introduce, it's we have to get close to the ampulla, and not only by using the endoscopic view, but also the fluoroscopic view to introduce the stent of the introduction device into the common bile duct. Can we have a look, please? So I get close to the ampulla, I open up the elevator, and slowly, with slow and gradual movements, I will introduce the stent into the common bile duct. Stay below to have a good angle, and very slowly in a controlled fashion. I take some distance now just to show you the stent mounted on the introduction device, and in due time we will also see the endoscopic marker appear. There it is. Okay, so now we have introduced the system into the common bile duct. The next thing is to accurately place the stent in relation to the stricture and also in relation to the ampulla. And what we would like is to have the stent deployed into the duodenum for a distance of about 1 to 2 centimeter. You can see this is very nicely visible now on the endoscopic view. We can see here the yellow marker and the transition towards the stent. And also if we look on the the fluoroscopic image, we can see 4 radiopaque markers. We see 2 radiopaque markers above the scope in the proximal portion of the common bile duct. One is the proximal extent of the stent while it's deployed. The second marker we will see will retract while we deploy the stent, and then distally we have 2 more markers. One is the distal marker, and the one a little bit more proximal to that is the point of no return, which is important, and we've always agreed when the nurse will reach that point, she will always stop deploying the stent, because then we have to make the final decision whether we go ahead, deploy the stent, or whether we want to close the stent and achieve, for example, a better position because something went wrong during initial deployment. So I'm now happy with the position of the stent. I'm happy now with the position endoscopically. I'm also happy with the position fluoroscopically. And what we do now is we will start deploying the stent, which will be done in a very controlled way with slow movements by pushing the handle. The nurse will do this. She now removes the protection feature in order not to deploy the stent prematurely. And now both controlled under endoscopic view but also under fluoroscopic view, we'll start deploying the stent. The stent will for shorten about 30%, so I have to correct while deploying the stent by withdrawing the introduction system. Stop maar heel even. You can nicely see that this in a very controlled fashion. The nurse is deploying the stent now. I'm slowly withdrawing the catheter, and we will see the stent starting to deploy at the proximal end shortly. So we'll continue now. I'm correcting now by withdrawing the catheter, and as you can see on the fluoroscopic image, the stent is now slowly deploying very nicely about 2 centimeters above the proximal extent of the stricture. Go on. You see we're now about 1.5 to 2 centimeters above the point of no return. So we've now reached the point of no return, so 80% of the stent is now deployed. And if for one or the other reason we would not be satisfied with the position, we could recapture now. So then we will push the button to now do the opposite movement, not to open the stent, deploy the stent, but to recapture. And now you will see that the stent will close again, very nicely, in a very controlled fashion. And now the stent has completely recaptured. Okay, so we start again. We will now again deploy the stent. Yeah, again, we control this endoscopically. As you can see very nicely the yellow marker, and also on the fluoroscopy. I withdraw the stent. Again, we will stop at the point of no return to make the final decision, go or no go. Yep. Okay, we're almost at the point of no return. Okay, there we are. So we stop now, make a decision. We're in a good position, so it's safe now to continue. So we're now at the point of no return. We will remove now the safety wire in order to complete the deployment of the stent. Fully remove the safety wire. Okay, fluoroscopy please. And continue now, deployment. Amador. Yeah, Amador. And there we have full deployment of the stent, very nicely positioned outside the ampulla for about 1.5 centimeters. And there we see the stent nicely positioned. We see some of the indentation of the stent almost in the middle, so it's a very nice position symmetrically. And that concludes the deployment of the Evolution uncovered 6 centimeter metal stent.
Okay, here we are. We're right in it now. Okay. We're gonna lock jam again. Okay. Hi. Yeah, I'm literally moving that away from the diaphragm. All right, that's good right there. Okay, good. All right, that felt pretty good. The lock jam.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is the one. We got this baby. Okay.
Okay, so looking at this one, there's some microcore here. You see this white material that moves around? That's actually some core. If you look way over here, there's some core, actual microcore. Look at that. You see that? That's really good specimen right in here. That's really good microcore. Okay, so in this pile there's some blood and there's some core that has some height. So I'm going to put this into formalin. Over here there's some microcore without much height. You can't pick this up, but it's going to make an amazingly good cytology, both from here and from here. Taking that blood plus core and I place it into the formalin over here. Okay, now let's look back right in here. And again, this is all pure microcore in here. And now I'm going to go ahead and make this smear. Oh yeah, okay. Okay. So what we can see on the smear is just abundant tissue right in here, 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 here. Lots of great diagnostic tissue. Cytology showed a metastatic neuroendocrine tumor, and histology revealed a true core, which was positive for insulinoma.